Sarah from Funky Fossil here, and welcome to another Make It Sunday episode on our YouTube channel. I try and do a video every week using different Funky Fossil products to just give you some ideas and inspiration and ways that you might want to use things in your stash. You don't need to have exactly what I have in front of me here, but obviously what I try and do is put the products that feature in today's video on offer in the shop in case you want to follow along with the steps that I explore today. And the purpose of today's video was to really have a bit more of a play with our Starlight paste. You get a big pot, I think it's a 150ml pot of the paste, and this is a kind of clear gel paste with tons of sparkle in it, and you won't really see the full benefit of that sparkle and dimension until we actually put it onto our paper or card or acetate or all the various surfaces it will work on, and then when the gel medium dries, you get that really fabulous frosty look. But there's lots more you can do with it too, and I want to just show you a few ideas of ways you can colour your paste, surfaces that you can use it on, and just general ways that you're going to get the maximum value out of having a large pot like this. This one is obviously currently in use, so your pot should be full when you receive it. And the stencil I thought I would use to kind of have a play with the Starlight paste today is our Snowy Circle. It's a lovely one, obviously perfect for winter and wintry and festive makes, and creates that lovely wreath. So this plus the paste plus obviously free palette knife will be on offer in our shop following this video going live. I want to try and make this video a little bit shorter. It's probably going to be mainly aimed at card making today. Normally the last few episodes I've been doing have been working in my journal, but today I'm just starting to get a bit nervous that I haven't really made much of a start on my Christmas cards, so I thought this might be a good opportunity to get cracking. So first off, I thought let's have a look at the Starlight paste just as it comes out of the pot directly onto a card front. And I'm using a dark navy card here because I think that will give you the best opportunity to see how that kind of will pop. This stencil's just got a little bit in it and I just want to take out. You may find that with these stencils, a bit like your dies, sometimes there's just a little element that needs to be cut or removed when you get it home. Not often, I hope, because I pack them all by hand, so normally I pick those things up before they go into the packaging. Right, so I've got my stencil laid over my card. On this occasion I'm not going to tape it down, but quite often when I'm working with paste you will see me use masking tape just to give me that added security that the stencil is not going to move on the surface while I'm pulling the paste through it. I typically don't worry that much when I'm using ink, but obviously with paste you're going to have a little bit more of kind of resistance because it's obviously kind of a heavier substance going through you, through or over your stencil, so sometimes it gives you a bit of added security to get some masking tape around that stencil. Create a hinge and you can lift it up and check whether you've got the coverage you want. Of course, another reason why you might want masking tape would be because if you've got any of your cardstock showing around the edges of your stencil, that will obviously protect them from getting covered with paste where you don't necessarily want it. It's not going to cause me any difficulties today, so I'm just going to get going. So you can see I'm dipping my palette knife straight into my pot of paste. It's quite happy on that palette knife. It's not going to kind of move around or fall off until I start to apply it. So you've got a good level, a good consistency of paste here. So I'm going to kind of pop it onto my stencil, onto the mylar, and then we're literally just going to pull it down. And you can see as it spreads how it's just gliding over the surface, and you start to see all that lovely iridescent glitter that's contained in the paste. So that I wouldn't be too worried about getting paste on the edges of my card, and I've managed to do it. There we go. So in terms of maximising the usage of your pot. I would typically say that you want to try and kind of remove enough from the surface that you can see the stencil design back through your paste. This isn't so much it isn't so helpful with the Starlight paste because it's fairly clear, but if you use any of our coloured paste, you absolutely want to at least be able to see the design that you're stenciling over showing through. Otherwise, if it's completely covered by the paste at the point you go to remove the stencil, you've probably got too much on there, and it might start to fall back in on itself when the stencil's removed. So this should give me enough coverage and dimension that I won't need any more. And then we can just see how beautiful, I'm going to just give that stencil a wash in a second, how beautiful this looks. And this is, of course, while it is still wet, so that kind of the medium is still there, giving a slightly milkier appearance, but you'll get the full benefit of that clear gloss medium and the iridescent glitter when that dries on the card. So we'll be coming back to that a little bit later. Actually, before I I reckon I can use this one again while it's still got the glitter on. So that's fab, and you can imagine all the uses you're going to be able to get out of that paste just using it plain. You can use it, add it with your paintbrush to kind of give you a snowy edge to scenes that you're creating. There's lots of different ways you can apply it, but it's clear, and so it gives you the opportunity of being able to colour it. And that's what I want to just have a look at today. So I've got two different ways of colouring the paste in front of me. I've got ink pad, I've got Distress Oxide ink. Any water reactive ink will work for you in this context. And I've got some Lindy's Magicals, which are kind of a water reactive powder. So if you've got Brushos, Cosmic Shimmer powders, all of those will give you a similar reaction with your paste. So let me show you first and foremost with the ink. The way I would colour my paste is put some ink down on my glass mat, lift some of the paste out of the pot, and then just mix the two together. And I might want to get a bit more paste, only because I'm thinking about whether I've got enough here to go all the way through this stencil. Can you see how immediately that paste has taken on the colour from the ink? Let me be a bit cheeky, put a bit more. Actually, let me put a bit more ink down first. And of course, the more ink or the more medium you use with your Starlight paste, the more intense the colour will be. And this will give you a lovely, lovely soft finish. So just think of all those inks you have already in your stash, how many different colours you could create with one pot of this kind of paste to coordinate with your designs. And it might be worth, I don't know if you could be able to pick that up on camera, but actually I'll probably show you a little bit later on. But this will, now that it's been kind of mixed into the paste, will give you quite a soft and subtle version of the peacock feathers colour. It won't be as vibrant as peacock feathers if it was applied directly to your project. I'm trying to avoid the paste on my desk. I really totally had not thought this through, have I? So I've got a card front here rather than a flat piece of card, so I'm just going to hope nothing untoward occurs. I'll be able to cut this down. So I've still got the Starlight paste on my stencil, so you would potentially have cleaned that off, but at the same time it's the clear paste, so it's not going to contaminate or give me any difficulties while I apply the coloured version over the top. So can you see, as it's spreading out, what a kind of soft and subtle colour this is giving us? However, as I say, that's the joy of this process. You can play with it to get much more intense colours depending on how much medium you add. And this is going to, I've got plenty of the paste here actually. That's good, I'll go on to some acetate next. So Can you see I'm pulling this just so that I can start to see the snowflakes from the stencil starting to appear beneath the layer of paste, so I know I've got a good coverage, but it's not going to be too much. That's lovely. So you can see here we've now got a blue version, but it's a very soft, it's a very subtle baby blue. This is off center. I will trim this down when it's dry, but can you see the dimension as well? So imagine this kind of soft pale blue on your project. So this will give a different look. If you'd gone through this stencil here direct to your paper or your card with the peacock feathers ink as you would normally with a stencil, you could then go back over that same stencil with the clear Starlight, and that will give a frosted look to the peacock feathers. That will give you a more intense finish than mixing the peacock feathers into the actual Starlight paste, because of course you're diluting the ink colour by mixing it in there. So again, it's another way of considering you might want to go direct with ink to your surface and then frost over the top with the Starlight, or for a softer look again, put the Starlight and the ink together. Now let's get brave, because given I've got all this fantastic paste still on my surface, I've got a piece of acetate. The reason I've got the white card here is hopefully you can see I've got a piece of acetate over the top. So this paste will dry and work beautifully on your acetate as well, and on glass. So this stencil is now getting incredibly gunky. So this could end up just getting messier and messier as we go. I just don't want to waste this paste that I've got on my surface here. So let's get that applied first, and then I think we're going to have a bit of a clean up before we do anything more. So this is the same combination of the peacock feathers mixed into the Starlight paste. Now we're going over acetate, and that makes you start to think about getting kind of beautiful frosted designs and patterns on the front of your shaker cards and those kind of projects. You can see how far this is going. This is my second full stencil, and I've got some more left on my palette knife. Obviously not going to put it back into the pot of Starlight. I'll contaminate all the colour. So you can see again how this is going to look so dreamy. I'll lift it up on the white actually. How dreamy is that going to look when it dries? So yeah, so really kind of all kind of catching the camera from above really with the reflection, but how beautiful is that? And you're still getting a lovely crisp impression here. So you've got dimension, you've got the sparkle, but now we've got subtle colour too. Right, I'm just going to go and hose everything down for a second, then we're going to just come back and see what different effect we're going to get with the magical. I've gone with quite a pale colour here with Ocean Breeze Blue, but of course there are so many colours in these water reactive powders, so let's see what happens when we add one of those to our Starlight paste and what effects that gives us too. I shall be back in a second. Okay, so I've washed down my glass mat and my stencil, so we're ready to go again. And I've thought about it this time, and I've got a piece of the acetate here on my glass mat, so I can do my mixing of my paste on the acetate and move it out of the way, rather than having my whole surface covered in paste and stopping me working somewhere that you can see me. So this time I wanted to try see what effects we can get by colouring the Starlight paste with the magicals, to say the water reactive powders. In fact, I can bring that front and centre, can't I, while I'm working on the acetate. So this time, previously when I was colouring the Starlight with the ink, I put the ink down and then mix the Starlight paste into it. This way around, I'm going to put the Starlight paste onto my acetate, just with my palette knife, and then we can sprinkle some of the magical onto the paste itself. Now while I was just clearing up, I got some of a slightly stronger colour as well, the Tibetan Poppy Teal from Lindy's Magicals. We'll go with Ocean Breeze first, but if it's very pale, that's the thing with Magicals and with lots of these water reactive powders, sometimes you don't know what you're going to get until you actually activate them. And this one's still got its little protective coating on. So I want to just add in a small amount. Let me just look at if I've got a paintbrush that I can just pull it out of the pot with. So I'm going to dip my paintbrush, small paintbrush, into the pot and then just drop that onto the paste. And of course you can always add more, but with these powders they're quite often intensely pigmented, so you don't need, you can see here, cracker, this is the paler of the colours. You don't need an awful lot to get quite a strong result. So it can be quite deceptive, that pot, the colour in the pot with the colour that you get on the paste. As we were saying with the inks, you can of course vary or change the intensity of the colour. If I added more of the Starlight in now, it would dilute the colour a little bit and make it slightly paler. But of course you don't really want to mix more of the Starlight paste than you're actually going to use. So I'm going to just work with this. This will give me a nice different colour to the soft baby blue that we were getting with the peacock feathers and the Starlight paste. So I'm interested to see what this will look like when it's dry. So a piece of white cardstock as we had previously, but again coloured cardstock, acetate, lots of different surfaces will give you different effects. Getting and I'm working on a piece of cardstock that's bigger than probably the finished project will be, so I know I'm going to trim this down. I'm not really concerned about that outer edge, but if you are, then say just mask it off with a bit of tape, exactly as you saw me do previously. Let's just pull that through. Can you see how beautiful that colour is? So if you have obviously depending on your stencil design and the kind of look you're going for, but if you've kind of got golds or silvers or all these different kind of powders or inks in your stash, you're going to be able to get so many different looks. So I've still got probably another stencil's worth on that acetate, and as before, this gives us a much more intense finish, certainly from what I can see here in front of me. Just do that, you can see. So just that little element of the pot just on the tip of a brush into your paste, and you're going to get a completely different colour and a different intensity of effect. Now you can colour the Starlight paste because this is a clear gel medium, and the glitter inside it is kind of iridescent, so it's going to kind of shine through whatever colour you make that gel medium. With our coloured paste, the ones that you've seen me use on other occasions, for example like our champagne on ice, this is coloured glitter. So actually if you try and colour the medium, you don't really change the overall effect because it's the glitter that's giving this its colour and intensity. So my suggestion would be, and that's why I do this in a much bigger pot, if you're wanting to customise and come up with lots of different colour combinations, then the Starlight paste is the one that you want to be playing with. By all means try it with the other ones, but they're not really designed to be coloured differently to the way they've already been provided to you. Right, well I'm super pleased with that, and I'm going to set that aside to dry. And then the last thing I want to do before I let all my stenciling dry, and then we'll kind of make a few finished projects with it, and I think I probably this Sunday will make some projects and just share with you the finished versions with our snowy circle. That's drying nicely, isn't it? I get very distracted by shiny things. So the last thing I thought I just show you an idea, something that might you might find interesting as a way of using your Starlight paste, and I'll use it with the coloured one that I've got down here just because I would hate to put to waste it. I've got a glass tea light here, just a plain clear glass tea light, and I've got a sponge dauber. I think a cosmetic sponge or a stencil brush for stippling would probably give you the same effect. I just have lots of these, so I thought I might as well. This is a nice easy way of applying the paste to the outside of the glass. So I'm picking it up on my sponge dauber and literally just going to stipple it onto our tea light, and this is going to, I hope, give us a kind of frosted look. And by lifting and moving that kind of foam around, you'll kind of get a bit of dimension and some kind of slightly uneven coverage, which I think kind of adds to that authentic frosty look. Now, because we've got our colour suspended in the clear gel medium, because it's going on now to a transparent surface, you don't get that same intensity of colour that I got when I was putting it through the stencil onto the white card, because of course the opacity of the white card underneath it gives it the contrast. Here it's going to give us a much more subtle look. I think this will look really, really lovely with a candle inside it. I have done this before, but using a rub-on, one of our fantastic rub-ons onto the tea light directly, because they will adhere to a glass surface, and then frosting around it with the Starlight paste. Of course, if you do want to do that, make sure you apply your rub-on first, because the rub-on will, I think, not be particularly pleased to be applied over the top of the paste. You just go over most surfaces, it might work, but it's obviously you're making life more difficult for yourself. You're going to give yourself a bumpy surface to try and put it onto. This is looking so cool. Now, just going to take this off here, off the palette knife. Just stippling it back onto the acetate here, just so I know that I've got a relatively even coverage on my dauber, and then trying to. Now the drying time of this on the glass will be a bit longer than it on paper, because of course glass is a non-porous surface, so it really is kind of needing all of that air time to dry, whereas onto cardstock it will dry more quickly, because the card itself will absorb some of the moisture from the paste. So just be a bit more patient if you've got this going onto a glass surface. Now I'm going to leave that there. I'm hoping you can see it's a lovely, lovely effect. Because the more I stipple this, I'll just be lifting as much off as I put on. If you want to get a more intense coverage or a more intense colour, then wait for this to dry and then go back over again doing exactly the same process. Or if you want an ombre, you could let this dry and then go back over just the bottom half with the colour, just to give it a stronger graduation. But this is going to dry beautifully on here, and it does dry and set really well. I'm not suggesting it's necessarily dishwasher safe, but for something decorative like a tea light, it will work really, really beautifully for you. So, time for another wash down, and to allow my fabulous projects to dry, so that I can then get to the point of adding some sentiments and further finishing touches, and I can come back and share with you what I've done with these various versions of the Starlight paste. And this is it just on the acetate, so you can imagine you could colour your acetate with Starlight paste, and potentially with a simple shape, I would suggest, because acetate doesn't always take kindly to being die cut, but you could die cut it out as well. So there are just so many ways you could apply and use this product. That's me messed up for the day. Let me have a clean down, let everything dry, and then I will come back and show you the finished projects. See you in a minute. Right, I've had some time just to finish a few of these off. I didn't get around to getting all of them made because it was going to take me ages once I started the faffing process. It was going to take me a little while to get all of these cards finished for you. But I just really wanted to kind of pop back in to show you the stencils with the Starlight paste dried on them, and just show how simple and easy it is with that one stencil design to come up with some very different looking projects where we've tinted our Starlight paste with some, here it was peacock feathers. Here on the dark blue, I've just used it straight out of the tub, so you can see how once that's dried it gives a really lovely finish on that dark blue. And this one, I think, yes, and this was a tint with the peacock feathers as well. So this is a really clean and simple card, nice and fresh. We've got our stripped back Christmas sentiments in the middle there, and all I did was add a bit of ink around the edge. On this one, obviously I used the tinted paste onto some acetate, and then I've really just adhered it behind a die cut circle window. These snowflake embellishments are some of our luxe cuts. You can get a sheet of these lightweight ply snowflakes, and all I've done is obviously painted them white, but I've also added some Starlight paste to the top of them just to give them additional shimmer and shine. So it's really easy excuse me, it's really easy to use the paste. This is the beautiful tea light that we just sponged the paste onto the tinted paste. So we had to put at that point, I think we'd put the Lindy's in, the Magicals had been used to tint this one, that water reactive powder. So you've got a really lovely vibrant finish on this, and then I use the leftover paste obviously to sponge onto this glass, so it gives it a much more subtle finish. Just trying to see if I've got anything white for you just to see how lovely that is. So lots of ways, lots of fun to have with your Starlight paste, and in this case your stencil. I'll be putting the paste and the stencil and a palette knife as our Sunday Makers bundle for this week, and the link will be in the description box below. But hopefully you will like and share this video, and I will see makes from you using your paste in future projects, and hopefully I will see you again next Sunday. So bye for now and have a good week. See you soon. Bye.